Class is in session, but not the kind you're used to. Tonight, we're reopening the doors to the most haunted schools and universities in the world, places where the whispers of the past still echo through empty hallways, where laughter turns to screams, and where not all students ever made it home. Schools are supposed to be safe. Bright classrooms, chalk on the board, the hum of students rushing to their next class. But behind the cheerful facade of some of the world's most prestigious institutions lies a darker truth, a truth stained with tragedy, secrets, and restless spirits that refuse to leave. From ivy-covered universities in England, where ghostly professors still give lectures long after death, to forgotten schools in Asia, where shadows walk the halls, to American campuses with chilling legends of students who vanished without a trace. These stories will make you question whether education really is the safest path. So grab your backpack, sharpen your pencils, and keep your eyes on the door, because if something moves in the corner of your screen, it might not be your imagination. Welcome to the 20 most haunted schools and universities in the world. Take a deep breath, because after this lesson, you may never look at a classroom the same way again. Poveglia Island sits quietly in the Venetian lagoon, a short distance from the beautiful canals of Venice. Tourists on gondolas rarely glance toward it, and those who know its name often lower their voices when speaking of it. The island carries a sinister legacy, one soaked in plague, death, and madness. Its reputation as one of the most haunted places in the world is not exaggerated. Among its many dark chapters, one of the most chilling revolves around its days as a medical facility, a hospital that doubled as an asylum, and where unimaginable horrors unfolded behind locked doors. The story of Poveglia's medical school begins in the early 20th century. Official records state that the island housed a mental hospital, a place intended for treatment and recovery. But whispers from that time tell a very different tale. Poveglia was never just a hospital. It became a dumping ground for those deemed insane, undesirable, or inconvenient. Families would send their troubled relatives there, often never hearing from them again. The isolation of the island made it the perfect prison for society's outcasts. The building itself was foreboding, a crumbling structure rising against a misty lagoon, its bell tower visible from miles away. Patients were ferried across the water under heavy guard, and once they stepped onto the decaying dock, their fate was sealed. The doctors who worked there wielded near-total power, and some of them abused it in the most horrific ways. One in particular would become the stuff of nightmares. He was the lead physician, a man of intellect and charm on the surface. But behind his polished demeanor lurked a twisted obsession. His fascination with the human mind crossed ethical boundaries into sadistic curiosity. Patients were not just treated, they were experimented upon. Whispered rumors spoke of lobotomies performed without anesthesia, crude surgeries that left patients screaming in agony. The hospital became a laboratory of suffering, where the cries of the damned echoed through damp, peeling corridors. The doctor believed he could cure insanity by probing the brain, by cutting away what he saw as the defective parts of the mind. He turned the bell tower into his personal workshop, and from its high windows, the sounds of drills and saws mingled with the moans of the helpless. Many patients were dragged up those steps and never came down alive. The stench of blood and decay clung to the walls, and even the nurses avoided the tower whenever possible. But Poveglia had a way of punishing those who dared to defile it. The island had long been a graveyard of plague victims, thousands of corpses burned or buried beneath its soil during the Black Death. Some said the ground itself was cursed, that the anguished spirits of the dead rose from their mass graves to torment the living, whether through guilt, madness, or supernatural intervention. The doctor began to unravel. Staff reported hearing him mumbling to unseen figures, claiming the souls of his patients were watching him, accusing him. At night, he would flee down the hallways, eyes wide, muttering about dark shapes moving in the shadows. One night, the torment became unbearable. The doctor climbed the bell tower, his sanctuary of horrors, and threw himself from the top. According to legend, he survived the fall but lay broken on the ground, gasping for breath. A nurse who witnessed the event claimed that a strange mist swirled around him, and then his body was dragged away by something unseen, leaving only a dark stain on the stones. No one ever found his remains. The hospital continued to operate for a short while after his death, but the stories of haunting grew impossible to ignore. Patients spoke of figures standing at the foot of their beds, whispering in voices not of this world. Staff reported cold spots, disembodied screams, and the sound of footsteps following them down empty corridors. Some claimed the doctor himself still roamed the bell tower, his hollow eyes watching anyone who dared to enter. By the mid-20th century, the facility was abandoned, left to rot like the souls it had claimed. Today, the building still stands, though nature has begun to reclaim it. Ivy crawls over crumbling walls, and the bell tower looms like a sentinel of despair. Locals refuse to set foot on the island. Fishermen steer their boats clear, fearing they might dredge up human bones tangled in their nets. Even thrill-seekers, who have managed to sneak onto the island, rarely stay long. They speak of overwhelming dread, of voices calling from empty rooms, of sudden bursts of laughter echoing from the tower. Poveglia Island remains a forbidden place, locked away from the world, yet its silence speaks volumes. Beneath the weeds and rubble lie the secrets of countless souls plague victims. The broken, the tortured, and perhaps even the doctor who believed he could control the mind, but instead lost his own. Those who have gone there and returned tell of a feeling that lingers for days, a heaviness that clings like a shadow. Some say the island is not empty at all, that it breathes with the restless dead, forever bound to the horrors of its past. If you stand on the shores of Venice at dusk, when the lagoon is cloaked in mist, you might see the outline of the bell tower in the distance. It rises like a warning, a jagged scar against the twilight sky. And if you listen closely, carried across the water on a chill wind, you might hear the faint echo of a scream, a reminder that Poveglia never forgets and never forgives. Old Changi Hospital in Singapore stands as one of the most infamous haunted sites in Asia. Perched on a quiet hill overlooking the sea, the building's faded white walls and broken windows hide a past steeped in suffering, violence, and tragedy. What makes it even more unsettling is that before it became a hospital, the structure served as a military barracks and later as a school. Its layered history has left behind countless stories of death and despair, and some say the spirits of those who perished there have never left. The building dates back to the late 1930s, when it was constructed as part of a British military installation. During those early years, the site was vibrant with activity, echoing with the sounds of soldiers and officers as the British Empire sought to maintain its stronghold in the region. The architecture was functional but imposing, a stark reminder of colonial power. But everything changed in 1942, when Singapore fell to the Japanese. During World War II, the once bustling military facility was seized and transformed into something far darker. Under Japanese occupation, the barracks became a makeshift prison and interrogation center for captured soldiers and suspected spies. Here, the dreaded Kempatitha, Japanese military police carried out brutal acts of torture. Prisoners were starved, beaten, and subjected to unspeakable cruelty. Locals whisper of rooms stained with blood, of screams echoing down the halls during those years. Some claim that secret tunnels beneath the building were used to dispose of bodies, though no official record confirms it. When the war ended in 1945, the building was steeped in death, a silent witness to countless atrocities. After the Japanese surrender, the site was converted into a hospital by the British. For decades, Old Changi Hospital served both military personnel and civilians. It gained a reputation for providing medical care in a peaceful, isolated setting. But even then, shadows lingered. Patients and staff would speak in hushed tones about the unsettling atmosphere, about cold drafts and the eerie sense of being watched. Nurses reported hearing footsteps in empty corridors and seeing figures vanish around corners. Some believed the spirits of tortured soldiers and civilians were still trapped within those walls, forever reliving their agony. By the late 20th century, as Singapore modernized, the hospital's relevance declined. It officially closed in 1997, leaving the structure to decay. But before its closure, Part of the complex was used as a school facility for a short period, adding yet another layer to its strange history. Students recalled an oppressive feeling while walking the hallways, as though the air itself carried sorrow. They spoke of classrooms where lights flickered without explanation, and stairwells where shadows seemed to move on their own. Some students even claimed to hear crying behind locked doors, only to find the rooms empty. When the hospital was finally abandoned, time did not erase its horrors, it only amplified them. Vines crept over crumbling walls, windows shattered, and graffiti stained what was once sterile white. But even in ruin, Old Changi Hospital drew attention, not from patients, but from thrill-seekers and paranormal investigators. Those who dared to enter tell chilling tales of encounters that defy logic. Many report hearing disembodied voices, whispers in languages they cannot understand, or screams echoing through the empty wards. Others have felt sudden drops in temperature, their breath visible in the humid air of Singapore, or sensed invisible hands brushing against their skin. One of the most famous legends surrounding Old Changi Hospital involves a young woman in a white dress, said to wander the corridors after dark. Some believe she was a victim of wartime atrocities. Others think she was a nurse who died tragically on duty. Visitors claim to have seen her drifting silently through the decayed hallways, her face pale and expressionless, her long black hair flowing as though moved by a wind no one else can feel. Sometimes she vanishes through walls. Sometimes she stops and stares. Another haunting centers on the old operating theater. Urban explorers often describe hearing the metallic clang of surgical instruments hitting the floor, even though the room has been empty for decades. Shadows have been seen moving across the walls when there is no light source, and some have captured faint images of figures in their photographs, blurred, translucent forms standing where no one should be. One group even reported the sound of a baby crying in the maternity ward, though the hospital has been abandoned for years. Locals avoid the building after dark. Taxi drivers refuse to take passengers there, claiming they do not want to risk what might follow them home. Spiritual practitioners warn that the site is a gateway, a place where restless souls wander freely. Some believe the land itself is cursed, soaked with too much pain and blood to ever find peace. Even developers have struggled to repurpose the property, with plans for renovation repeatedly delayed or abandoned. It is as if the building resists change, clinging to its ghosts. Today, Old Changi Hospital stands in eerie silence, its corridors littered with debris, its walls whispering memories of suffering. The classrooms are empty, the hospital wards cold and lifeless, yet the energy remains heavy and oppressive. Those who have ventured inside often leave shaken, some refusing to speak of what they experienced. A few never return at all. When night falls over Changi, and the moon casts long shadows across the broken windows, the building seems to awaken. Wind howls through shattered glass, and the echoes of the past rise like a chorus of the damned. They say if you listen closely, you can still hear the screams from the war, the sobs of the forgotten, and the faint laughter of children who once studied in classrooms, now lost to darkness. Old Changi Hospital is not just an abandoned structure, it is a tomb for memories that refuse to die. A place where time stands still and the dead continue to walk among the living. The University of St. Andrews in Scotland is known as the oldest university in the country and one of the most prestigious in the world. Founded in 1413, it is a place steeped in tradition, academic excellence, and historic charm. Its ancient stone buildings, cobblestone streets, and windswept coastal setting give it an almost timeless beauty. But behind this scholarly facade lies a world of ghost stories and legends that have persisted for centuries. The university is said to be one of the most haunted in the United Kingdom, and students and visitors alike have reported strange happenings that defy explanation. One of the most well-known legends involves the spirit of the White Lady. She is said to haunt St. Rule's Tower, which stands among the ruins of St. Andrew's Cathedral near the university grounds. The tower dates back to the 12th century, long before the university was established, and it has seen its share of history and tragedy. According to local lore, the White Lady was a young woman who lived during the time of the cathedral's glory. Some say she was a noblewoman, while others claim she was a nun who broke her vows for love. Whatever her true identity, her life ended tragically, and her spirit never found peace. Witnesses describe her as a tall, elegant figure, dressed in a flowing white gown, gliding silently among the gravestones or climbing the narrow steps of St. Rule's Tower. Those who have seen her say she radiates sadness, and many believe she is searching for something she lost in life, perhaps love, perhaps redemption. Another infamous haunting is tied to the university's quad, a picturesque courtyard surrounded by centuries-old academic buildings. Here, a phantom monk is said to appear after dark. Students have reported glimpses of a hooded figure moving silently along the cloisters, his face hidden in shadow. Some accounts claim he approaches those who wander alone at night, only to vanish when confronted. Theories suggest he might be a remnant of the religious orders that once dominated St. Andrews before the Reformation. Others believe he is the ghost of a scholar who died under mysterious circumstances, condemned to walk the university grounds for eternity. St. Salvator's Chapel, one of the university's most iconic buildings, is also said to be haunted. Built in the 15th century, it has been the site of countless ceremonies, prayers, and even executions. One of its darkest stories involves Patrick Hamilton, a young Protestant reformer, who was burned at the stake outside the chapel in 1528 for his beliefs. His execution was a brutal affair, and it is said the flames took 6 hours to consume him. According to legend, Hamilton's spirit lingers near the spot where he died. Students often speak of feeling an inexplicable chill when passing by the initials PH embedded in the cobblestones. Tradition warns that stepping on them brings bad luck, a superstition taken seriously by many to this day. On quiet nights, some claim to hear faint cries or smell smoke drifting through the air, as if the past refuses to fade. The haunting tales are not limited to the university's immediate grounds. The nearby North Ha, now home to modern university buildings, was once a desolate marshland where bodies were rumored to have been dumped during times of plague and war. Strange lights and ghostly figures have been reported in the area, especially on foggy evenings when the sea mist rolls in from the coast. Students walking alone at night often speak of feeling watched, their footsteps echoing louder than they should, as if accompanied by unseen company. Perhaps the most chilling stories come from the university residences, some of which occupy buildings hundreds of years old. St. Salvator's Hall, often referred to as Sally's, is a grand residence hall that has stood since 1930. While relatively modern compared to other parts of the university, it too has its share of paranormal rumors. Students have spoken of hearing footsteps in empty corridors, doors opening and closing by themselves, and the sensation of someone sitting on their bed when no one is there. In older halls like Dean's Court, which dates back to the 18th century, ghostly encounters are even more frequent. Residents have reported apparitions of figures dressed in old-fashioned clothing, sudden drops in temperature, and whispers that seem to come from the walls themselves. What makes these stories so enduring is the atmosphere of St. Andrews itself. The town and university are built on layers of history: medieval churches, ruined castles, ancient graveyards, and narrow alleyways that have seen centuries of life and death. The sea crashes against the cliffs just beyond the campus, its roar mingling with the wind that sweeps through the streets at night. On stormy evenings, when the sky turns dark and the rain lashes the old stones, it is easy to believe that the past is not truly gone. It lingers in the shadows, in the echo of footsteps along deserted paths, in the flicker of candlelight glimpsed through an empty window. For many students, these ghost stories are part of the charm of studying at St. Andrews. They gather around in dorm rooms or pubs, sharing tales passed down through generations. Some laugh them off as superstition, while others swear they have seen things they cannot explain. Visitors come from all over the world, drawn not only by the university's academic prestige, but also by its haunted reputation. Ghost tours lead curious travelers through the ancient streets, telling stories of monks, martyrs, and mysterious figures who refuse to rest. The University of St. Andrews remains a place of learning, tradition, and beauty. But it is also a place where history feels alive, sometimes uncomfortably so. The spirits said to roam its grounds are reminders that the past never truly disappears. It leaves its mark in whispers, in shadows, in the cold breath of wind on a lonely night. For those who walk its cobblestone paths after dark, one question always lingers. Are you truly alone, or are you being watched by eyes that have seen centuries pass and still linger in the midst of Scotland's oldest university? The Athens Lunatic Asylum, known today as the Ridges and part of Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, is one of the most infamous psychiatric institutions in American history. Built in 1874, it was considered a modern facility for its time, designed according to the Kirkbride Plan, which emphasized long, staggered wings and open spaces to promote healing. The asylum was meant to be a place of care and treatment, but as the decades passed, its reputation shifted from one of hope to one of horror. Overcrowding, outdated practices, and tragic stories turned this institution into a place that many believe is still haunted by the spirits of its patients. When the asylum first opened, it was a sprawling complex, sitting on over 1,000 acres of land. It had room for about 500 patients, but like many facilities of its era, that number quickly grew beyond capacity. By the mid-20th century, the Athens Lunatic Asylum was housing nearly 2,000 patients, many of whom suffered from severe mental illness. Others, however, were committed for reasons that today would seem shocking: postpartum depression, epilepsy, alcoholism, and even rebellious behavior could lead to confinement in the asylum. Treatments in those early years were crude and often brutal. Hydrotherapy was common, with patients restrained in icy water for hours. Electroconvulsive therapy and lobotomies were introduced in the mid-1900s, often performed with little regard for consent. One of the asylum's darkest chapters involved the widespread use of the transorbital lobotomy, a procedure intended to cure mental illness by severing connections in the brain. Many patients emerged from the surgery permanently impaired, their personalities erased. For some, the procedure was fatal. The halls of the asylum echoed with cries of pain, confusion, and despair. As conditions worsened, the Athens Lunatic Asylum developed a reputation as a dumping ground for society's unwanted. Patients were often abandoned by their families and left to live out their days in overcrowded wards. Records indicate that more than 1,900 individuals died there during its years of operation. Many were buried in unmarked graves on the asylum grounds, their identities lost to time. Today, visitors can still find the old cemetery, where simple, numbered stones mark the resting places of those forgotten souls. Among the asylum's most enduring legends is the story of Margaret Schilling, a patient who mysteriously disappeared in December 1978. Staff launched a search, but failed to find her until nearly 6 weeks later, when her body was discovered in a long-abandoned ward. She had apparently locked herself inside and died of exposure. When her body was removed, a perfect outline of her figure was imprinted on the floor. No amount of scrubbing could erase it. To this day, the faint stain remains, a ghostly reminder of her tragic end. Flickering lights, and the sound of soft humming when no one is there. After years of decline, the asylum closed in 1993. The property was transferred to Ohio University and renamed the Ridges. Some of the old buildings have been repurposed into classrooms, offices, and museums, but many sections remain abandoned, their broken windows and peeling paint telling silent stories of the past. Students and faculty have long whispered about paranormal encounters in the old asylum buildings. Strange noises echo through empty corridors, footsteps, whispers, and the clanging of distant doors. Security guards making late-night rounds have reported seeing shadowy figures darting across hallways or standing silently in the darkness. The most haunted areas are said to be the old wards and the basement, where electroshock treatments were once performed. People who have ventured into these spaces describe overwhelming feelings of sadness and dread, as though the walls themselves remember the suffering they witnessed. Some claim to hear the anguished cries of former patients, or to see fleeting glimpses of figures dressed in hospital gowns. Cameras and recording devices often malfunction in these areas, with batteries draining without explanation. Even the cemetery is said to be active with paranormal energy. Visitors report strange lights flickering among the graves, the sound of voices on the wind, and an eerie sense of being watched. Paranormal investigators have captured unexplained voices on audio recordings, pleas for help, laughter, and even names whispered from beyond. Many believe the spirits of those who died nameless and forgotten still linger, unwilling or unable to leave the place where their lives ended in misery. The architecture of the ridges only adds to its haunting atmosphere. The grand Victorian buildings stand like silent sentinels against the hills of Athens, their tall windows staring blankly over the campus below. On foggy nights, when the mist rolls across the grounds, the asylum looks like something from a Gothic nightmare. Students walking nearby often quicken their pace, glancing nervously toward the looming structures, as if expecting to see a face in one of the darkened windows. Today, the Ridges is both a historical landmark and a subject of fascination for ghost hunters, historians, and thrill seekers. Tours of the grounds often include stories of Margaret Schilling and the asylum's dark past, drawing those who are curious about what lingers in its shadowed halls. While the university embraces its history, it cannot ignore the persistent reports of unexplained activity. Lights turning on by themselves, doors slamming shut, and the chilling sensation of unseen eyes following you. These experiences have been shared by countless witnesses. The Athens Lunatic Asylum may have closed its doors decades ago, but its legacy of suffering has left an indelible mark. For many, it remains a place where the veil between the living and the dead is thin, where echoes of pain and despair linger in the air. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing is certain: the history of this place is as real as the cold stone walls that still stand, silently guarding the secrets of those who never made it out. Raffles Institution is one of Singapore's oldest and most prestigious schools, a beacon of education since its founding in 1823 by Sir Stamford Raffles. Known for its academic excellence and long-standing traditions, it is a place of history and pride. But behind the bright classrooms and bustling corridors lies a darker side, a series of ghostly tales and strange occurrences that have been whispered among generations of students. These stories have turned the school into one of Singapore's most intriguing haunted locations. The school's original campus was located along Bras Basah Road, an area steeped in history. Before the land was developed, it was surrounded by cemeteries and burial grounds during Singapore's early colonial days. During the Japanese occupation in World War II, the Bras Basah area saw bloodshed and tragedy, with buildings used for imprisonment and execution. Some believe these grim origins have left behind an imprint of restless spirits, lingering long after the war ended. One of the most famous stories associated with Raffles Institution concerns the old school hall at the Bras Basah campus. Students who stayed back late for co-curricular activities reported hearing footsteps echoing across the hall even when it was empty. The sound was deliberate, as if someone were pacing back and forth. On several occasions, lights flickered on and off, and shadows moved behind closed doors. Security guards who patrolled the campus at night refused to go near the hall alone, claiming they heard whispering voices and sudden bursts of laughter when no one was around. Another chilling tale involves a restroom in one of the older blocks of the campus. Students avoided it whenever possible because of unsettling experiences inside. People reported the taps turning on by themselves, stalls slamming shut, and an icy draft that made the hair on their arms stand up. Some claimed to see a woman in a long white dress standing at the far end of the restroom, her hair covering her face. The story goes that she was a victim from the Japanese occupation era, when the school grounds were rumored to have been used as an execution site. Whether fact or fiction, the atmosphere in that restroom was so oppressive that it became the subject of countless student dares. The Japanese occupation left an undeniable mark on the school's history. During the war, parts of the campus were allegedly used by the Japanese military, and whispers of torture and death followed those years. Teachers and staff working late at night often spoke of hearing strange sounds, low voices speaking in Japanese, the heavy stomp of boots, and even the sharp echo of shouted orders. There were stories of bloodstains appearing mysteriously on walls, only to vanish later. Though no official record confirms the atrocities, the stories persist, and they are enough to send shivers down the spine of anyone who hears them. When Raffles Institution moved to its current Bishan campus in 1990, many assumed the ghosts of Brass Bassa would be left behind. But the hauntings seemed to follow. Students began to report eerie incidents in the new school buildings. One of the most famous involved the auditorium, where performers rehearsing after dark claimed to see figures sitting in the back rows, silently watching. When they checked, the seats were empty. Curtains sometimes swayed as though touched by an unseen hand, and strange knocking sounds echoed from the stage when no one was near. The library, too, has its share of unsettling reports. Students studying late have heard pages flipping on their own and books falling from shelves without reason. Some felt cold spots moving past them, as if someone walked by, though the aisles were empty. There are even stories of a man in an old-fashioned suit, possibly a teacher from the colonial era, drifting silently among the shelves before vanishing without a trace. Perhaps the most famous ghost of Raffles Institution is the crying girl. For decades, stories have circulated about soft sobbing coming from empty classrooms late at night. Teachers who investigated found nothing, just a lingering sense of sadness in the room. Some say she was a student who could not cope with academic pressure and ended her life, while others believe she is connected to the tragedies of the past. Whatever her origin, the sound of her sobs remains one of the school's most chilling mysteries. Raffles Institution may be a place of learning and success during the day, but when the sun sets and silence falls, it changes. The corridors grow dark, and the air feels heavier. Those who linger after hours speak of cold drafts, flickering lights, and the sensation of being watched. In those quiet moments, it is easy to imagine the spirits of the past, victims of war, forgotten souls, or lost students still roaming the grounds, unwilling to let go of the stories etched into the school's history. Tokyo Gakuen High School, located in the heart of Japan's bustling capital, is known for its academic reputation and modern facilities. By day, the campus is filled with the laughter of students, the sound of lessons, and the hum of daily life. But when night falls and the hallways grow silent, a different side of the school emerges, one cloaked in darkness and whispered legends that have terrified students for generations. The land on which Tokyo Gakuen now stands was once the site of an old temple. Local records suggest that during the Edo period, the temple grounds served as a resting place for those who died during outbreaks of disease. Later, during World War II, the area was devastated by air raids, and temporary shelters and makeshift hospitals were set up on the same grounds. Many lives were lost here, victims of war, illness, and suffering. Some believe that the restless spirits of those who perished have never left, and that their presence lingers within the walls of the school. One of the most famous ghost stories tied to Tokyo Gakuen High School revolves around the old music room. Students have reported hearing the sound of a piano playing long after the room has been locked for the night. The melody is always the same, slow, haunting, and deeply sorrowful. Security guards who have gone to investigate claim they find the room empty and the piano closed, yet the notes continue to echo softly in the air. Some even swear they've seen the figure of a young girl seated at the instrument, her long black hair hiding her face as her pale fingers glide across the keys. When they enter the room, the figure vanishes, leaving only the faint scent of old perfume. No one knows who she is, but rumors say she might have been a student who died during a performance decades ago, her spirit forever tied to the music she loved. Another chilling tale centers on the school's science lab. At night, strange sounds come from behind the locked door, the clinking of glass beakers, the low hiss of a Bunsen burner, the rhythmic tapping of something metallic. When the lab is opened, everything is in its place, and no sign of activity can be found. One janitor reported hearing footsteps pacing inside, when he was the only one on duty. Another claimed to have seen a figure in a white lab coat standing near the windows, gazing out at the courtyard. The figure reportedly turned, revealing a face with hollow eyes, before vanishing into thin air. Perhaps the most disturbing stories are connected to the school's abandoned wing. This section was closed off years ago due to structural issues, but students dare each other to sneak in. Those who have returned describe an oppressive silence, as though the air itself is heavy with something unseen. Desks and chairs lie overturned in empty classrooms, and dust coats everything like a shroud. Many claim to feel eyes watching them from the shadows, and some have heard faint whispers calling their names. One student told of seeing a shadow crawling along the ceiling before disappearing into a corner, leaving behind only a cold draft and a sense of absolute terror. The elevators have their own legend. Students whisper that if you ride alone at midnight and press a certain sequence of buttons, the elevator will stop at a hidden floor that doesn't exist on any blueprint. Those who claim to have seen it describe a long, dimly lit hallway lined with doors. The atmosphere there is suffocating, and an overwhelming sense of dread grips anyone who steps inside. Some report hearing muffled crying from behind the doors, or seeing bloody handprints smeared across the walls. Others say they saw figures standing in the distance, watching, waiting. No one who has ventured far down that hallway has stayed long enough to see what lies at the end. The third-floor girls' restroom is another place of fear. Similar to the infamous Hanako-san legend, students have reported hearing knocks from inside locked stalls, followed by soft giggles that echo unnaturally. On more than one occasion, girls have looked under a stall door and seen a pair of small feet facing the wrong way, only to find the stall completely empty when opened. Some even claim that the mirrors fog up on their own, revealing handprints or words written in an unknown language before fading away. Teachers and staff are not immune to these strange experiences. One teacher staying late to grade papers heard the sound of children laughing in the hallway past midnight. Assuming some students had stayed behind, he went to check. The hallway was empty, but at the far end, he saw the figure of a little girl in an old-fashioned uniform. Her face was pale, her eyes wide and lifeless. When he blinked, she disappeared, leaving him shaken to the core. He never stayed late at school again. Paranormal investigators who have explored Tokyo Gakuen High School report chilling anomalies, sudden drops in temperature, malfunctioning cameras, and voices captured on recorders that were not heard during filming. Some believe the school sits on a spiritual fault line, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead is dangerously thin. Others think that tragedies tied to the land, the forgotten temple burials, the wartime suffering, have left an energy that cannot be erased. Today, Tokyo Gakuen is a thriving institution during daylight hours. Students fill its classrooms, and life goes on as normal. But when the last bell rings and the corridors fall silent, something else awakens. The piano begins to play its lonely tune. Footsteps echo down empty halls. Doors creak open when no one is there. And those who linger too long in the dark may catch a glimpse of the school as other side, the one where history and horror meet, and where the past refuses to let go. The University of Toronto, one of Canada's oldest and most prestigious institutions of higher learning, is not only known for its academic excellence and sprawling Gothic architecture, but also for the eerie tales that linger among its ancient halls. Founded in 1827, the university has witnessed nearly 2 centuries of student triumphs, research breakthroughs, and cultural shifts. But alongside these achievements, stories of ghostly encounters and unexplained phenomena have quietly circulated, creating an undercurrent of mystery beneath the university's scholarly surface. At the heart of the university stands University College, an imposing structure built in the mid-19th century with soaring arches, dark stone walls, and stained glass windows that cast colorful but somber light into its corridors. It is here that many of the most famous hauntings are said to occur. Students and staff recount chilling experiences, particularly late at night when the building is nearly deserted. One of the most commonly reported apparitions is known as the Gray Lady. According to legend, she is the spirit of a young woman who once studied at the university but died tragically before completing her education. Witnesses describe seeing a faint, translucent figure dressed in Victorian-era clothing gliding silently along the stone corridors. She is said to appear most often near the old library and the grand staircase, her expression one of sorrow and longing. Some who have encountered her report a sudden drop in temperature, a feeling of deep sadness, and even the faint scent of lavender lingering in the air. Another haunting tale involves the campus's historic Hart House, a large student center known for its Tudor-style architecture and cozy rooms. Despite its warm atmosphere by day, students and staff report strange happenings after hours. Some have heard the sound of piano music playing softly from an empty room, while others speak of unexplained footsteps echoing down long hallways. One popular story tells of a former janitor who reportedly encountered an unseen presence while cleaning late one evening. He claimed to have felt a cold hand brush against his shoulder and to have heard whispering voices that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Since then, Hart House has become a popular spot for paranormal investigators hoping to catch evidence of the supernatural. The university's St. Michael's College also carries its share of ghost stories. Built in the early 20th century, the college's chapel is often cited as a hotspot for paranormal activity. Visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures moving in the stained glass-lit aisles, hearing organ music when the instrument is silent, and experiencing sudden chills. A particularly eerie legend concerns a priest who died under mysterious circumstances and is said to still roam the chapel grounds, offering silent prayers to the living and dead alike. One of the university's most unsettling stories comes from the medical sciences building. Here, students training in anatomy have sometimes reported strange sensations, as if unseen eyes are watching them during late-night study sessions. Several have spoken of hearing unexplained knocks coming from locked storage rooms and catching glimpses of shadowy figures darting just out of sight. Some have even reported feeling an oppressive atmosphere, heavy and suffocating, in the building's older sections. The building's long history as a center for medical research and training, with its connection to life and death, adds a chilling layer to these stories. Another frequently mentioned location is the Soldiers' Tower, a war memorial dedicated to the university's fallen soldiers. While a place of solemn remembrance by day, some claim that at night, faint sounds of marching and distant gunfire can be heard around the tower. There are reports of ghostly figures in old military uniforms, appearing briefly among the trees and vanishing when approached. Visitors say the air near the tower sometimes feels charged, as if the past is reaching out to the present. The university's extensive network of underground tunnels and passageways also contributes to its spooky reputation. Originally built for maintenance and heating purposes, these tunnels run beneath many of the campus buildings and are rarely accessed. Stories abound of students who have dared to explore the tunnels after dark, only to experience strange noises, flickering lights, and feelings of being followed. Some say they have seen glowing orbs or shadowy figures moving just beyond their line of sight. The tunnels have become a source of fascination for thrill-seekers and ghost hunters alike. Though the university officially discourages unauthorized access due to safety concerns, even the university's libraries are not immune to ghostly tales. The Thomas Fisher Rare Book Library, with its towering shelves and quiet, dimly lit reading rooms, is said to hold spirits of former scholars who never quite left. Patrons have reported the feeling of cold drafts in closed rooms, books mysteriously falling from shelves, and whispers heard when no one else is present. The idea of restless scholars still wandering the aisles of priceless books adds a romantic yet eerie aura to the library's atmosphere. Many of these stories have been passed down through decades of students, faculty, and staff, evolving with each retelling but maintaining a core of truth that resonates with those who have experienced the inexplicable. While skeptics dismiss them as imagination or coincidence, those who have witnessed strange occurrences swear by their experiences. What makes the University of Toronto's Hauntings so compelling is the blend of history, architecture, and human emotion. The university's buildings are steeped in memories of joy, sorrow, ambition, and loss. Generations of students have walked these halls, their lives interwoven with the physical space. It is perhaps no surprise that some traces of the past linger, manifesting as ghostly presences and unexplained phenomena. Despite these eerie tales, the university remains a vibrant center of learning and research. embracing both its rich history and its modern innovations. Yet for those who venture into its quieter corners after dark, the University of Toronto reveals a hidden cedar place, where the past is not quite finished with the present, where shadows whisper secrets, and where the spirits of history may still walk among the living. Royal Holloway, University of London, is renowned for its stunning Victorian architecture and sprawling campus set amid the English countryside. Founded in 1886 as a women's college, it quickly became one of the country's most prestigious institutions. The main building, Founders Building, stands as a grand testament to Gothic Revival style, with its towering spires, intricate stonework, and imposing facade. But beneath this impressive exterior lies a rich tapestry of stories, some inspiring, some tragic, and many steeped in mystery and the supernatural. From its early days, Royal Holloway has been the setting for numerous strange occurrences, ghostly sightings, and unexplained phenomena that have fueled the imaginations of students and staff alike. The university's haunting reputation primarily centers around the Founders Building, which houses lecture halls, dormitories, and administrative offices. Its labyrinthine corridors and hidden staircases seem to whisper tales from the past, and many who spend late nights there report feelings of being watched or followed by unseen presences. One of the most famous stories involves the ghost of the college's founder, Thomas Holloway. Holloway was a Victorian philanthropist who dedicated his fortune to establishing the college, providing education opportunities for women at a time when such chances were rare. Legend says his spirit still roams the halls of the building he created. Witnesses claim to have seen a tall, distinguished man in Victorian attire, sometimes appearing near the grand staircase or the dining hall. His presence is usually accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature and the faint scent of cigar smoke, his known habit in life. Many regard him as a benevolent spirit, quietly watching over the institution he helped bring to life. Another chilling tale is that of the Lady in Grey, a spectral figure seen on several occasions near the old chapel within Founders Building. She is described as a woman dressed in a flowing gray gown, her face often obscured by a veil. According to campus folklore, she was a student who tragically died during the early 20th century, possibly from tuberculosis, a common and deadly disease of that era. Reports say she appears most frequently during quiet moments, gliding silently along the cloisters or peering out of windows. Some students have said she tries to communicate through sudden cold drafts or the flickering of lights. The Lady in Grey is often associated with a feeling of profound sadness and loss, a haunting reminder of lives cut short. Dormitories within Founders Building have also been hotspots for paranormal activity. Students living in the older rooms often share stories of strange noises, whispers, footsteps pacing outside their doors, or the sudden slam of windows. One popular story involves a room on the third floor, where occupants have reported seeing shadowy figures standing at the foot of their beds. Some say these figures vanish when confronted. Others describe a heavy presence that makes it difficult to sleep. Though unsettling, most believe these experiences are echoes of the building's long and complex history. The University Chapel, a serene yet atmospheric space, has its own ghostly tales. Beyond the Lady in Grey, there have been reports of disembodied singing, particularly of hymns and choral pieces, heard late at night when no choir rehearsals or services were scheduled. Staff members responsible for closing the chapel have sometimes spoken of hearing footsteps and doors creaking, only to find the building empty upon inspection. The chapel's acoustics make it a natural stage for haunting sounds. But those who hear the music swear it carries an emotional weight that transcends mere echoes. Royal Holloway's library, filled with rare books and ancient manuscripts, also carries an aura of mystery. Late-night visitors have sometimes noticed books falling from shelves without explanation or experienced sudden drops in temperature while studying. Some have felt an unshakable sensation of being observed, as if the ghosts of scholars past linger among the stacks, guarding their knowledge and secrets. The idea of restless academic spirits adds a poetic layer to the library's scholarly atmosphere. Beyond Founders Building, the university's grounds contain several areas said to be haunted. The old service tunnels and basements, rarely visited and largely forgotten, are the subjects of numerous ghost stories. Students who have dared to explore these dark passageways report strange sounds, dripping water, faint voices, and footsteps that seem to follow but never catch up. Others tell of glimpsing glowing orbs and shadowy figures darting just beyond sight. The tunnel's damp, cold environment only intensifies the eerie feeling, making these places popular among thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. The origins of many of these ghost stories are often linked to the university's rich history. Over the decades, Royal Holloway has seen its share of tragedy and change wars, epidemics, and the personal dramas of countless students and staff. The Victorian era, in particular, was a time when death was more visible and closer to everyday life. Illnesses like tuberculosis and influenza claimed many lives, including some associated with the college. These stories, passed down through generations, have woven themselves into the fabric of a university's culture, becoming a part of its identity. Despite its haunted reputation, Royal Holloway remains a vibrant and welcoming academic institution. Students and faculty embrace the stories not as something to fear, but as a connection to the past, a reminder that history is alive and present in every stone and shadow. Ghost tours are sometimes organized, where guides share chilling tales that thrill visitors and give a glimpse into the university's supernatural side. What makes the hauntings of Royal Holloway particularly fascinating is the blend of grandeur and mystery. The stunning beauty of the Founders Building, with its majestic architecture and meticulously kept grounds, contrasts sharply with the whispers of unseen residents. It is a place where history, legend, and the supernatural meet, inviting those who walk its corridors to look beyond the surface and consider the unseen stories that dwell within. For those who stay late after dark, Royal Holloway reveals a different world, one where the past softly echoes through the halls, where shadows move just beyond the eye, and where the spirits of a bygone era quietly watch over the generations that follow. Hindu College, a prestigious constituent of the University of Delhi, stands as one of India's most historic and respected institutions of higher learning. Established in 1899, it has been a cradle of intellectual thought, cultural growth, and nationalistic fervor throughout its long existence. But beneath the scholarly achievements and vibrant campus life lies a less-known aspect of Hindu College's series of chilling ghost stories and paranormal accounts that have been whispered among students and faculty for decades, giving the institution a haunting reputation that lingers long after dark. Located in the heart of Delhi, Hindu College occupies old colonial-era buildings that have witnessed tumultuous chapters in Indian history. From the days of British rule to the fierce independence movement, the campus has been a silent observer to countless political rallies, passionate debates, and social upheavals. These historic events, coupled with the sheer age of the buildings, have contributed to an atmosphere where the past seems to bleed into the present, manifesting in stories of restless spirits and unexplained phenomena. One of the most persistent legends revolves around the college's oldest lecture halls, where many students have reported strange sensations during late-night study sessions or after extracurricular activities. It is said that at certain times, the lights flicker erratically, plunging the room into sudden darkness before returning to normal. Some students have experienced the sensation of unseen hands brushing past them, or the cold touch of a spectral presence sitting beside them. More unsettling are the tales of voices, whispers in Hindi, Urdu, or English, carrying fragments of conversations long forgotten, echoing down the empty corridors. A particularly famous story concerns a figure known as the Veiled Lady, who is said to appear near the college's ancient library. Witnesses describe her as a woman dressed in white traditional attire, her face obscured by a translucent veil. According to campus folklore, she was a student who tragically died in the early 20th century under mysterious circumstances. Some say she was a victim of heartbreak. Others believe her death was linked to the political turmoil of the times. Regardless of her origins, her ghost is believed to roam the quiet corners of the library, her presence marked by an inexplicable chill and the faint scent of jasmina flower, traditionally associated with mourning and remembrance in Indian culture. Students who have glimpsed her speak of a profound sadness that lingers in the air long after she vanishes. The college canteen, usually a bustling hub of activity by day, turns into an eerie locale at night. There have been reports from late shift staff and occasional night security guards of strange noises, clinking plates, the murmur of conversations, and footsteps, despite the place being locked and empty. On more than one occasion, security personnel have encountered fleeting shadows darting between tables or glimpsed figures standing motionless in the darkness. These encounters often leave witnesses with an overwhelming sense of being watched, prompting many to avoid the canteen after hours. Hindu College's historic auditorium is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Built in the early 1900s, the hall has hosted countless debates, plays, and musical performances over its lifetime. Backstage areas and dressing rooms have been the site of numerous ghost sightings. Actors and crew members report unexplained sounds, doors opening and closing by themselves, whispers when no one else is present, and the occasional sighting of a translucent figure that appears to be rehearsing lines or tuning a musical instrument. Some performers claim that when the theater is empty, they can hear faint applause and laughter echoing through the hall, as if an unseen audience remains forever captivated by the show. The gardens and courtyards of Hindu College, typically serene and inviting, also have their share of spectral stories. During late-night walks, some students have reported seeing shadowy figures slipping between the trees, vanishing when approached. Others speak of sudden gusts of cold wind in still air, or the haunting strains of an old sitar melody carried faintly on the breeze. The sprawling campus, with its mix of old trees and colonial architecture, seems to be a place where the boundary between the living and the dead grows thin under the moonlight. Faculty members are not exempt from these eerie experiences. Professors working late have recounted hearing footsteps echoing along empty corridors, or catching glimpses of figures disappearing around corners. One senior lecturer shared a particularly unsettling incident when, while grading papers alone after hours, he saw a shadow pass behind him, reflected in the window, though no one was there. Such experiences, though unsettling, have become part of the fabric of life at Hindu College, passed down through generations as both cautionary tales and reminders of the college's deep history. Much of the college's paranormal activity is believed to be tied to its location and age. The campus sits on grounds with a layered history. Prior to becoming an educational institution, the land was part of old settlements and witnessed periods of conflict during the British Raj and India's struggle for independence. These turbulent times, marked by sorrow, sacrifice, and hope, are thought to have left residual energy. The old buildings themselves, constructed in colonial architectural style, with creaking wooden floors and long-shadowed corridors, create an ambience that naturally lends itself to ghost stories. Despite its haunted reputation, Hindu College continues to be a lively and respected center of learning. Students and staff navigate their days surrounded by history and tradition. Aware of the legends but focused on their academic pursuits, the ghost stories, far from deterring them, have become a curious part of campus culture, sparking debates, inspiring creative writing, and even leading to occasional ghost hunting excursions by enthusiastic student groups. For many, the tales of spectral sightings and strange noises serve as a reminder that Hindu College is more than just a place of learning. It is a living monument to India's complex history, a place where memories linger in stone and shadow. The spirits said to haunt its halls may be echoes of lives lived long ago, caught between worlds, forever intertwined with the pursuit of knowledge and the vibrant energy of the students who walk its grounds. In the quiet moments, when the sun sets and the campus grows still, one can almost hear the whispers of the past, faint echoes of voices, footsteps, and melodies carried on the wind. Whether these are the products of imagination or the presence of restless souls, they add an enigmatic layer to Hindu College's legacy, making it not only a place of academic excellence, but also a realm where history and mystery entwine. The University of Heidelberg, founded in 1386, stands as Germany's oldest university and one of Europe's most esteemed centers of learning. nestled in the picturesque city of Heidelberg, along the Neckar River. Its sprawling campus is a blend of ancient Gothic structures and modern academic buildings. Yet beneath the veneer of scholarly prestige and centuries of intellectual pursuit, the university harbors a legacy shrouded in mystery, shadowed by legends of hauntings, eerie sightings, and unexplained phenomena that have stirred fear and fascination for generations. Heidelberg's rich history, intertwined with religious upheavals, wars, and scientific discoveries, has left an indelible mark not only on academia, but also on the spectral realm. The university's age-old buildings have borne witness to countless personal tragedies and historical turmoil. It is within these hallowed halls and dimly lit corridors that tales of ghosts and apparitions thrive, passed down through centuries like whispered secrets. One of the university's most famous hauntings centers on the Alta Aula, the old ceremonial hall used for graduations and formal gatherings. Constructed in the early 18th century, the Grand Hall boasts intricate woodwork, imposing portraits of former rectors, and vaulted ceilings that echo with history. However, those who have spent time there after dark speak of a chilling presence. Witnesses have reported hearing footsteps pacing along the hall's wooden floor when no one else was present. Some have glimpsed shadowy figures standing silently by the grand portraits, vanishing when approached. There are stories of unexplained cold drafts swirling through the hall, and the occasional flickering of chandeliers, despite a lack of electrical faults. The student dormitories attached to the university's historic buildings are also steeped in ghost stories. Students have told tales of inexplicable noises, disembodied voices, doors creaking open and shut, and objects mysteriously moving on their own. One frequently recounted experience involves a particular room where occupants felt a heavy, oppressive atmosphere that made it difficult to sleep. Some who stayed overnight described hearing soft weeping or murmurs, and the sensation of being watched by unseen eyes. Over the years, the room has gained a reputation as a hotspot for paranormal activity, with new residents approaching it with caution. Perhaps the most tragic and compelling story linked to the University of Heidelberg is that of a young woman named Anna whose spirit is said to linger in the university's botanical gardens. Anna was reportedly a student during the 19th century who fell deeply in love with a fellow scholar. Their romance, however, was doomed by societal pressures and family disapproval. Heartbroken, Anna vanished one evening and was later found lifeless beneath an ancient oak tree in the gardens. Since then, numerous visitors have reported seeing a sorrowful figure dressed in period clothing wandering among the flowers, her presence accompanied by a sudden chill and the scent of roses. Gardeners and students alike speak of hearing soft, sobbing carried on the wind, especially during late autumn evenings. The university library, a treasure trove of rare manuscripts and historical documents, has its own eerie legends. Scholars studying late into the night have reported the feeling of invisible footsteps pacing behind them, books inexplicably falling from shelves, and the faint sound of whispering voices in languages long forgotten. Some claim to have seen fleeting apparitions of cloaked figures gliding silently through the aisles. These phenomena, coupled with the library's dim lighting and hushed atmosphere, create an unsettling environment for even the most dedicated students. The Philosophenweg, or Philosopher's Walk, a scenic path overlooking the city and the Neckar River, is famous not only for its beauty, but also for supernatural encounters. Legend says that on misty nights, the spirits of past philosophers and scholars who once studied at Heidelberg stroll along the path, deep in silent contemplation. Travelers and late-night walkers have reported feeling sudden chills, hearing faint footsteps behind them, and glimpsing shadowy figures disappearing into the fog. The path's combination of natural beauty and eerie tales makes it a magnet for both tourists and those intrigued by the paranormal. Adding to the university's haunted aura are the subterranean catacombs and old cellars beneath some of its buildings. Originally used for storage or as wine cellars, these underground passages have become the subject of many ghost stories. Some who have ventured into these dim, labyrinthine tunnels speak of hearing strange noises, dripping water, distant voices, or the echo of footsteps that seem to follow them. Others report sudden drops in temperature and fleeting shadows darting just out of sight. The catacombs' maze-like layout and oppressive atmosphere amplify the sense of unease, making them a source of both fascination and fear. Historical events have also contributed to the university's haunted reputation. During World War II, Heidelberg was spared much of the destruction suffered by other German cities. Secret meetings held in hidden rooms, manifesting as restless presences in the oldest parts of the campus. Despite the chilling tales, the University of Heidelberg remains a vibrant and esteemed center for education and research. Its students and faculty embrace the university's history, including its supernatural stories, not as sources of fear, but as part of a rich cultural heritage that connects past and present. Ghost tours are occasionally organized for curious visitors, blending history with legend and inviting participants to explore the university's shadowy corners with a sense of awe and respect. What makes the hauntings at Heidelberg particularly compelling is a seamless blend of academic pursuit and spectral mystery. The university is a place where the light of knowledge shines brightly, yet where the shadows of history still flicker. Its ancient stones and hallowed halls hold stories not only of human achievement, but also of sorrow, loss, and lingering spirits. For those who wander the university's grounds after dark, the experience can be both inspiring and unsettling. The quiet rustle of leaves, the distant murmur of the Neckar River, and the occasional glimpse of a ghostly figure combine to create an atmosphere where time seems to fold. In this place, the boundary between the living and the dead blurs, and the past remains vividly alive, whispering its secrets to anyone willing to listen. St. Augustine College in the Philippines is an institution steeped in rich history and tradition, known for its commitment to education rooted in the values of faith, service, and academic excellence. Founded in the early 20th century, it has been a beacon of learning for generations of Filipino students. But beyond its reputation for nurturing minds and spirits, the college is also enveloped in stories of supernatural occurrences that have become an integral, if eerie, part of its legacy. Located in a bustling part of the city, St. Augustine College's campus is a blend of old colonial-style buildings and modern classrooms. The oldest structure, known simply as the main building, dates back nearly a century and holds the heart of the institution. Its high ceilings, wooden floors, and large windows tell tales of a bygone era, but within its walls lie stories that speak of more than just academic pursuit. Whispered among students and faculty alike are accounts of ghostly sightings, unexplained noises, and an atmosphere that thickens as dusk settles, transforming the familiar halls into places of mystery and suspense. One of the most commonly told tales involves the second-floor hallway of the main building. Many students who have stayed late after classes describe an unsettling sensation while walking this corridor. It is said that on certain nights, the hallway grows inexplicably cold, and a heavy silence descends, broken only by faint footsteps that echo from an unseen source. Several have reported glimpsing shadowy figures just beyond the edge of their vision, vanishing when looked at directly. Some believe these apparitions are former students or faculty members who have never truly left, their spirits lingering to protect the place they once called home. Perhaps the most famous legend at St. Augustine College is that of the White Lady. This ghostly figure is said to appear on the rooftop garden, a serene area where students often gathered during the day. According to local lore, the White Lady was once a student who tragically died on campus many decades ago. The details of her story vary, but most versions agree that she suffered a sudden and untimely death, possibly by accident or heartbreak. Since then, she has been seen dressed in a flowing white gown, her face pale and expressionless, wandering the rooftop at night. Those who claim to have seen her say the air grows cold in her presence, and a faint scent of sampaguita flower, native to the Philippines, fills the air. The White Lady is said to be a restless spirit, forever searching for peace. The college chapel, a small yet beautiful sanctuary within the campus, also holds its share of supernatural tales. Staff who close the chapel at night sometimes report hearing whispers of prayers carried on the wind. even when no one else is present. The organ, left untouched, has been known to play soft, haunting melodies on its own. Several priests assigned to the chapel have spoken of a comforting presence during evening services, but also of moments when the temperature drops suddenly and a shadow passes across the altar. It is believed that the chapel is a spiritual crossroads, where the veil between the earthly and the divine becomes thin. Students in the science laboratories have recounted strange occurrences that defy explanation. Equipment has been known to malfunction inexplicably, lights flickering without cause, and the sensation of being watched is a frequent complaint. One memorable incident involved a group of students conducting an experiment late into the evening when suddenly the room plunged into darkness. When the lights flickered back on, several reported seeing a ghostly figure standing silently in a corner before it vanished. These stories have become part of the campus folklore, blending the pursuit of knowledge with the mysteries of the unknown. The library, often a quiet refuge for studious minds, has also been the site of eerie happenings. Students studying late have heard pages turning on their own or the soft rustle of footsteps in empty aisles. Some have felt cold spots pass by or glimpsed fleeting shadows darting between the stacks. The ancient wooden shelves, filled with volumes dating back decades, seem to hold more than just books. Many believe they house the lingering spirits of scholars past, guardians of knowledge who refuse to rest. The dormitories at St. Augustine College are no stranger to paranormal stories. Residents have reported hearing doors creak open and shut, furniture moving slightly, and soft murmurs that seem to come from empty rooms. In particular, Room 207 has gained notoriety among students for its persistent hauntings. Those who have stayed overnight describe an oppressive atmosphere, sudden drops in temperature, and even the sensation of invisible hands brushing their skin. Some swear they have seen fleeting apparitions of a young woman in old-fashioned attire, her eyes filled with sorrow. Despite these chilling tales, the college community embraces the stories with a mix of reverence and curiosity. Paranormal investigations have been conducted by student groups, blending modern technology with traditional spiritual practices in an effort to understand the unexplained. These investigations often uncover mysterious readings, unusual electromagnetic fluctuations, temperature anomalies, and faint recordings of voices that cannot be explained. While skeptics dismiss these as coincidences or natural phenomena, many remain convinced that St. Augustine College is a place where the past and present coexist in a delicate balance. The origins of many hauntings are believed to be tied to the college's long history and the lives of those who passed through its doors. The Philippines' turbulent history, marked by colonization, war, and social upheaval, is reflected in the collective memory of the campus. It is said that some spirits are tied to events beyond the institution, echoes of battles fought, lives lost, and hopes deferred. The college's foundation on sacred ground and its connection to religious faith further deepen the spiritual atmosphere, making it a place where the material and immaterial intertwine. St. Augustine College remains a vibrant and respected institution, dedicated to educating the minds and spirits of its students. Yet, as night falls and the campus quiets, a different story unfolds, a story where history, faith, and the supernatural intersect. The echoes of footsteps, the whispers in the dark, and the ghostly apparitions remind all who walk its halls that some mysteries refuse to fade away. For those willing to look beyond the ordinary, St. Augustine College offers a glimpse into a world where the past lingers, where spirits watch over their alma mater, and where the line between reality and the supernatural blurs. It is a place where education is not only about knowledge, but also about understanding the deeper, unseen forces that shape our lives. In the end, the stories of hauntings at St. Augustine College are more than just ghost tales. They are a testament to the enduring spirit of a community bound by history, faith, and the mysteries that continue to captivate and challenge those who call this institution home. Manipal Institute, located in the coastal town of Manipal in Karnataka, India, is a renowned educational hub known for its sprawling campus, world-class facilities, and diverse student body. Founded in the mid-20th century, It has grown into a multidisciplinary institution, attracting thousands of students from across the country and around the world. Despite its reputation for academic excellence and innovation, Maniple Institute carries an air of mystery that contrasts sharply with its vibrant daytime atmosphere. Over the years, stories of paranormal encounters and eerie happenings have become an inseparable part of the campus lore. Whispered among students and faculty, fueling a fascination with the supernatural that lingers beneath the surface of everyday life. The sprawling Maniple campus is dotted with modern buildings, hostels, and green spaces. But it is the older structures, the first lecture halls, and dormitories that are often the sites of unexplained phenomena. One of the most talked about locations is the main lecture hall, a venerable building that has witnessed decades of learning, celebrations, and sometimes tragedy. Many students and staff who have stayed late after classes recount chilling experiences. Sudden drops in temperature, unexplained noises echoing through the hall, and fleeting shadows glimpsed from the corner of their eyes. Some even describe the sensation of an unseen presence watching them from the darkened aisles when the hall is empty. Another hotspot for supernatural tales is the girls' hostel, an imposing multi-storied building with narrow corridors and old wooden staircases. Residents speak of strange occurrences, knocks on doors, lights flickering without cause, and the occasional sound of soft footsteps pacing the halls late at night. One of the more famous stories involves a particular room on the third floor, where a student reportedly vanished under mysterious circumstances many years ago. Since then, that room has gained a reputation for being haunted. Occupants have reported hearing whispers, cold drafts, and the sensation of being touched by invisible hands. Some have refused to stay overnight, leaving the room perpetually empty, despite its prime location. The campus library, a quiet sanctuary for knowledge seekers, also has its own share of eerie legends. Students studying late into the night have recounted feeling sudden chills, hearing the rustling of pages when no one else is around, and glimpsing shadowy figures gliding past the stacks. Occasionally, books fall off shelves without any apparent cause, startling those nearby. These unexplained incidents have led many to speculate that the spirits of past scholars linger among the volumes, unwilling to leave the realm of study and learning. One of the most unsettling stories linked to Maniple Institute concerns the old hospital building on campus. Now mostly abandoned, but once a center for student health and emergency care. Employees and night guards assigned there have reported strange noises. The echo of footsteps in empty corridors, doors opening and closing by themselves, and disembodied voices calling out for help. Some have witnessed shadowy figures darting through the dimly lit halls, or felt sudden drops in temperature accompanied by an overwhelming sense of dread. The hospital's history includes accounts of tragic accidents and untimely deaths, leading many to believe that restless souls haunt the building's crumbling walls. The sports complex and nearby fields, often lively during the day with student activities, take on a different character at night. Some students have claimed to see unexplained lights flickering across the grounds, or hear distant cries and laughter with no source. A particularly popular tale is that of a lone runner, believed to be the ghost of an athlete who died tragically in a training accident. Witnesses say this spectral figure runs along the tracks late at night, vanishing as they approach, leaving behind only the faint scent of sweat and leather. Faculty members and administrative staff are not immune to these eerie experiences. Several professors working late have reported hearing unexplained noises in their offices, such as tapping on windows, faint whispers, or the sudden opening of doors. One senior lecturer recounted an incident when, during a solitary night of grading, the lights flickered and went out briefly, and upon restoring, a chair was found slightly moved from its original position. Though these occurrences are often dismissed as quirks of an old building, the cumulative effect has woven a sense of the supernatural into the campus culture. The origin of many of these ghost stories is deeply tied to Maniple's history and the lives of those who have passed through its gates. Over decades, the campus has been a microcosm of youthful ambition, joy, sorrow, and sometimes tragedy. Accidents, illnesses, and occasional untimely deaths have left an imprint on the collective memory of the institution. In a culture that holds strong beliefs about spirits and the afterlife, it is perhaps natural that some souls remain tethered to places significant to their lives and deaths. Despite the eerie tales, Manipal Institute remains a thriving educational institution, focused on nurturing talent and pushing the boundaries of knowledge. Students and staff continue to live and work alongside these ghostly legends, often with a sense of respectful curiosity rather than fear. Paranormal clubs and enthusiast groups occasionally organize investigations, using modern equipment alongside traditional methods to seek answers to the mysteries that the campus holds. Though concrete evidence remains elusive, the stories persist, enriching the campus's identity and fostering a unique bond among those who share these experiences. The blend of scientific inquiry and supernatural lore creates a fascinating duality at Manipal Institute. It is a place where the future is shaped through education and innovation, yet the past silently watches from shadowed corners and forgotten rooms. The campus's natural beauty, the palm trees swaying against a coastal breeze, the tropical flowers blooming year-round, provides a serene backdrop for these eerie encounters, making the stories all the more striking. As night falls over Manipal, the campus transforms. The bustling chatter of students fades, lights dim, and the familiar paths grow quiet. It is then that the unseen world seems to emerge. The footsteps in empty halls, the whispering voices, the flickering lights all serve as reminders that beneath the surface of this modern institution lies a complex tapestry of history, memory, and the unexplained. For those who walk the campus after dark, the experience is a blend of awe and apprehension. The air is thick with stories that refuse to be forgotten, and the shadows hint at secrets waiting to be uncovered. Manipal Institute, with its fusion of academic rigor and spectral mystery, stands as a testament to the enduring presence of the past in the present, inviting those who dwell within it to acknowledge that not all knowledge lies within textbooks, and some truths are whispered in the dark. Charleston College, located in the historic city of Charleston, South Carolina, is an institution steeped in rich history and Southern charm. Founded in the early 20th century, it has long been a beacon of education, arts, and culture in the region. But beyond its academic reputation and picturesque campus, Charleston College holds a reputation for something far more mysterious and haunting. Tales of ghostly apparitions, unexplained noises, and eerie experiences have been passed down through generations, making the college not only a place of learning, but also a hotspot for paranormal activity. The campus itself is a blend of old and new, featuring grand antebellum-style buildings that echo Charleston's colonial past alongside modern lecture halls and student centers. It is within these older, more historic buildings that the majority of supernatural accounts originate. Among these, the old main hall stands out as the heart of many ghost stories, constructed in the late 1800s. This building has seen centuries of students, faculty, and staff come and go, and with them, a complex web of tales involving restless spirits and eerie encounters. One of the most famous legends involves a figure known as the Lady in White, a ghost said to haunt the upper floors of Old Main Hall. According to campus lore, she was a young student from the early 1900s who tragically lost her life in an accident on the campus grounds. Some say she fell from a stairwell late one night. Others claim she was a victim of unrequited love and heartbreak. Regardless of the cause, her spirit is believed to wander the halls in a flowing white dress, appearing to students and faculty alike. Witnesses report sudden drops in temperature, unexplained cold drafts, and a soft sound of footsteps echoing through empty corridors when the Lady in White is near. Some have even claimed to see her face, pale and sorrowful, peering from behind a classroom door or gazing out of a window before vanishing without a trace. The college library, housed in a Victorian-era building known for its ornate woodwork and towering shelves of old books, is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Students who study late into the night often recount unsettling experiences, These range from books mysteriously falling off shelves to the sensation of being watched while reading. There have been reports of whispering voices just beyond hearing range, flickering lights, and even the faint scent of old leather and dust when no one else is around. Some say the library is haunted by former professors and scholars who dedicated their lives to learning and refused to leave even after death. Dormitories on campus are no stranger to ghost stories either. Room 312 in the East Wing has a particularly eerie reputation. Occupants over the years have reported strange noises, such as soft crying, tapping on walls, and even disembodied voices calling out names. One former resident described waking up to see a shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed, vanishing the moment she turned on the light. Many students avoid requesting this room, and it remains unoccupied more often than not. The college's auditorium, known for its classic architecture and ornate chandeliers, also harbors ghostly tales. Performers and staff have recounted hearing mysterious footsteps backstage, the sudden opening and closing of doors, and objects moving on their own. Some actors have spoken of a presence watching them during rehearsals, while technicians report hearing unexplained noises coming from empty wings of the building. The spirit is said to be that of a former theater professor who died unexpectedly, but whose love for the performing arts binds him to the stage forever. Beyond the buildings, the college grounds themselves hold a haunted reputation. The old oak tree near the campus chapel is a site of several ghost stories. Locals and students alike have told of a figure seen sitting beneath the tree at twilight, shrouded in mist. This apparition is often described as a man in old-fashioned clothes, believed to be a former college president or professor who still watches over the campus. Some visitors claim to hear soft piano music and distant laughter coming from the tree's direction, despite there being no nearby source. The chapel itself, a stunning example of Gothic architecture with stained glass windows and wooden pews, is said to be a place where the veil between worlds grows thin. Many have experienced sudden cold spots while inside, and some have seen flickering candlelight with no candles lit. The chapel's organ has been known to play soft notes by itself, and several caretakers have reported footsteps echoing in empty aisles during the late hours. Some believe the chapel is a sanctuary not only for the living, but also for the spirits who have passed on. Faculty and staff members are not immune to these supernatural experiences. Some have shared stories of unexplained events in their offices, objects moving on their own, computers shutting down mysteriously, and the feeling of a presence sitting silently beside them. One professor recounted receiving an email from an unknown sender with a message that simply read, "I'm still here," followed by a sudden power outage. While skeptics often attribute these occurrences to natural causes or overactive imaginations, the persistence and consistency of the stories make them difficult to dismiss entirely. The origins of these hauntings are deeply rooted in Charleston's long and complex history. The city itself is known for its rich cultural heritage, but also for its darker chapters: wars, epidemics, and social upheaval that have left emotional scars etched into the very soil. The college, being one of the oldest institutions in the area, has inevitably absorbed some of this energy. Over the years, countless students and faculty have lived, loved, struggled, and passed away within its walls, creating a layered past that some believe continues to resonate in the present. Despite the chilling tales, Charleston College remains a lively and cherished institution. Its students and faculty take the ghost stories in stride, often sharing them with a mix of fascination and humor. Paranormal enthusiasts frequently visit the campus, hoping to catch a glimpse of the supernatural or to record evidence of the unseen. Ghost tours and storytelling events have become popular activities, blending history and mystery in a way that deepens the connection between the college community and its past. What makes the hauntings of Charleston College so compelling is how they intertwine with the institution's identity. The college is a place where tradition and innovation coexist, where the vibrant energy of youth meets the weight of history. The ghosts, whether real or imagined, serve as reminders of the lives that have shaped the college, adding a layer of depth and intrigue to the academic environment. As night falls over Charleston College, the campus transforms. The bustle of daytime activity gives way to quiet shadows and whispered legends. The historic buildings stand silent but alive with stories waiting to be told. For those who wander the halls after dark, the experience is one of connection to history, to mystery, and perhaps to something beyond the veil. In this place of learning and legacy, the past is never truly gone, and the spirits of Charleston College continue to watch, wait, and sometimes reveal themselves. The University of Notre Dame, located in Notre Dame, Indiana, is one of the most iconic and historic universities in the United States. Founded in 1842 by Father Edward Sorin and the Congregation of Holy Cross, the university has long been a symbol of academic excellence, faith, and tradition. Its iconic golden dome stands as a beacon visible for miles, drawing students, alumni, and visitors alike. But beneath the university's scholarly pursuits and vibrant campus life lies a rich history peppered with stories of hauntings and unexplained supernatural occurrences that have fascinated and sometimes unsettled those who spend time within its ancient walls. One of the most renowned ghost stories revolves around the Grotto of Our Lady of Lourdes, a sacred site on campus modeled after the famous French grotto. The grotto is a place of prayer, reflection, and spiritual solace for many, but it also carries an air of mystery. Visitors and students who spend time there at night have reported seeing flickering lights near the statue of the Virgin Mary or hearing soft whispers when the area is otherwise silent. Some claim to feel a comforting yet inexplicable presence, while others recount moments of unease as though unseen eyes are watching. These experiences blend faith with the paranormal, giving the grotto a unique reputation as both a holy and haunted place. The main building, crowned with its famous golden dome, is another hotspot for supernatural activity. This majestic edifice has been at the heart of the university since the 19th century. Faculty and students working late into the night have told of hearing footsteps echoing in empty hallways or catching glimpses of shadowy figures moving in peripheral vision. There is a persistent legend of a former university president who is said to still roam the halls, dressed in period attire, his ghost a symbol of the enduring legacy of Notre Dame's leadership. These sightings, while often fleeting and subtle, have been reported enough times to earn a place in the university's folklore. Residence halls on campus also contribute to the university's haunted reputation. One dormitory, in particular, is often singled out for frequent paranormal activity. Students living there have described hearing knocks on doors when no one is there, doors opening and closing by themselves, and footsteps pacing the hallways in the dead of night. Some have even reported seeing ghostly apparitions or feeling sudden drops in temperature. Rather than scare students away, these stories have become part of the shared experience, bonding residents over the mystery and intrigue that permeates their home away from home. Notre Dame Stadium, famous for its roaring crowds and storied football history, is not exempt from ghostly tales. Groundskeepers and night staff have reported hearing phantom cheers and crowd noises long after the stadium has emptied. Some have glimpsed figures dressed in old-style football uniforms, pacing the sidelines or sitting in the stands, believed to be the spirits of former players who left a lasting mark on the university's athletic legacy. These spectral athletes are said to appear mostly on quiet nights, their presence a haunting tribute to the glory days of Notre Dame football. The Basilica of the Sacred Heart, a stunning Gothic structure and spiritual heart of the campus, also holds many ghost stories. The stained glass windows and intricate artwork create an atmosphere of reverence by day, but at night, the basilica takes on an eerie quality. Staff have reported hearing the organ playing softly when no one else is around, or seeing flickering candlelight with no candles lit. Some speak of translucent figures silently appearing in pews or moving along the aisles. The basilica's role as a sacred space adds depth to these supernatural tales, suggesting that the spiritual and spectral worlds converge within its walls. Campus monuments, such as the Newt Rockney Memorial, also attract paranormal attention. Visitors have reported chills and the sensation of being watched near the statue honoring the legendary football coach nearby. The statue of the university's founder, Father Edward Soren, is said to be the focus of mysterious lights and sounds after dark. These monuments serve as focal points for campus spirit and memory, blurring the line between homage and haunting. Academic buildings on campus are home to their share of eerie stories as well. Students studying late have told of hearing footsteps outside empty classrooms or whispered voices just beyond hearing range. One classroom is particularly notorious for the disappearance of a student decades ago. Since then, occupants have reported flickering lights, the sensation of a presence, and objects moving without explanation. These stories add a chilling backdrop to the pursuit of knowledge within the university's walls. The university's library, a treasure trove of knowledge and history, has seen its share of paranormal phenomena. Librarians working after hours report footsteps echoing among the stacks, books falling without cause, and shadows flitting past. The presence of past scholars is said to linger, guardians of knowledge who refuse to depart. These accounts contribute to the library's mysterious allure, merging the intellectual with the supernatural. Faculty members and staff have shared personal encounters that lend credibility to Notre Dame's ghostly reputation. Reports include unexplained noises in offices, sudden cold spots, and fleeting apparitions seen through windows or in mirrors. One professor described the lights flickering on and off, followed by the silhouette of a figure in period clothing standing in the doorway, vanishing when approached. Such tales, often shared quietly, contribute to the university's rich folklore. The origins of Notre Dame's hauntings are deeply connected to its long history. The university was founded by a small group of French priests dedicated to establishing a center of Catholic education in the American frontier. Over nearly 2 centuries, the campus has witnessed wars, social transformations, celebrations, and tragedies. The combination of intense human emotion, faith, and history creates an environment where the past is never truly gone. Despite the ghostly stories, Notre Dame remains a vibrant institution committed to education, faith, and community. The supernatural tales are embraced as part of the university's heritage, often featured in ghost tours, storytelling events, and student lore. These stories deepen the connection between past and present, reminding all who walk the campus that some mysteries lie beyond the pages of history books. The University of Sydney, established in 1850, stands as one of Australia's oldest and most prestigious institutions of higher learning. Nestled within the vibrant city of Sydney, the university's sprawling campus is an architectural masterpiece that blends Gothic Revival buildings with modern facilities. It is a place where history and innovation coexist, and where generations of students have pursued knowledge and shaped the future. Yet, beneath its scholarly pursuits and academic achievements lies a lesser-known narrative, one filled with tales of paranormal activity, ghostly apparitions, and unexplained phenomena that have intrigued and unsettled those who walk its ancient halls. The university's historic quadrangle, a striking collection of sandstone buildings arranged around a central courtyard, is at the heart of many ghost stories. Constructed in the late 19th century, this iconic complex has witnessed over a century of academic life, including moments of joy, tragedy, and mystery. Students and staff have reported eerie occurrences within its vaulted corridors and lecture theater's footsteps echoing through empty halls, whispers with no discernible source, and sudden drops in temperature that send chills down the spine. Some say the spirit of a former professor still roams these corridors, forever guarding the pursuit of knowledge. One of the most enduring legends involves the ghost of a woman known as the Gray Lady. Sightings of this spectral figure have been reported near the old Mackenzie Theater, a venue that has hosted countless performances and lectures. Witnesses describe her as a woman dressed in early 20th century attire, often seen gliding silently across the stage or appearing in the wings before vanishing. Some believe she was an actress or a student who died tragically, her presence forever tied to the theater she once loved. Those who have encountered the Gray Lady speak of an overwhelming sense of sorrow and longing, as if she is trapped between worlds, unable to find peace. The university's libraries, including the Fisher and Fisher East libraries, have their own share of mysterious tales. Late-night study sessions are sometimes interrupted by strange sounds, books falling without cause, pages rustling when no one is nearby, and faint whispers drifting through the stacks. Several students have reported seeing fleeting shadows or catching glimpses of figures who disappear when approached. The quiet, dimly lit aisles create an atmosphere ripe for such experiences, blending the intensity of academic focus with the eerie silence of the supernatural. Another frequently discussed site is the Camperdown Campus Hospital building. Once a medical teaching facility, but now mostly unused. Security guards and maintenance staff working late have shared stories of unexplained footsteps echoing through the deserted wards, doors opening and closing without explanation, and sudden cold spots that seem to follow them down the hallways. Some have even reported shadowy figures glimpsed from the corner of their eyes, vanishing when confronted. The building's long history, including its role during times of epidemic and war, is believed to contribute to the lingering restless energy. The university's residential colleges also harbor ghost stories passed down among students. The oldest of these, St. Paul's College and Wesley College, both boast grand heritage buildings filled with creaking floors and hidden passageways. Residents recount strange noises in the night, doors banging, footsteps pacing empty corridors, and unexplained knocking on walls. Some students have reported seeing ghostly apparitions wandering the halls or hearing voices calling their names. Despite these unsettling experiences, the stories have become part of the college's traditions, fostering camaraderie through shared tales of the paranormal. Faculty members are no strangers to these supernatural phenomena. Several professors have reported hearing knocks on their office doors when no one is there, lights flickering during late-night work, and a sensation of being watched. One lecturer described a chilling moment when a chair suddenly moved on its own in an empty seminar room. Though rational explanations often exist, the consistency and frequency of such experiences have led many to accept that the university is a place where the natural and the supernatural intertwine. The origins of these hauntings are deeply connected to the university's rich and sometimes turbulent history. As Australia's first university, it has been a site of intellectual achievement, but also of human suffering, resilience, and change. The land on which the campus sits was originally inhabited by the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, whose spiritual connection to the land is profound. Some believe that the spirits of the original custodians still linger, adding an ancient dimension to the supernatural lore. Furthermore, the university has weathered events such as wars, pandemics, and social upheaval, each leaving an imprint on the campus's collective memory. Despite the eerie tales, the University of Sydney thrives as a vibrant academic community. The ghost stories, rather than deterring students and staff, have become a unique aspect of campus culture. Paranormal enthusiasts regularly organize investigations, blending scientific inquiry with traditional spiritual practices to explore these mysteries. Ghost tours and storytelling events are popular, especially during the annual Halloween season, providing a thrilling way for the community to engage with the university's history and legends. The supernatural stories add depth and character to the university's identity. They remind those who study and work there that beneath the surface of scholarly pursuit lies a world rich with history, memory, and mystery. The hauntings of the University of Sydney are not just tales of fear, but narratives of connection, linking past to present, the living to the departed, and knowledge to the unknown. As night falls over the campus, the sandstone buildings glow softly in the moonlight, and the ancient trees cast long shadows across the quads. It is in this twilight hour that the unseen world feels closest, where the echoes of footsteps long past mingle with the whispers of students yet to come. For those who walk the University of Sydney after dark, the experience is one of wonder and reflection, an invitation to acknowledge the mysteries that linger within one of Australia's greatest institutions of learning. The University of Hong Kong, often abbreviated as HKU, is one of the oldest and most prestigious universities in Asia. Founded in 1911 during British colonial rule, it has long been a beacon of education, culture, and history in Hong Kong. Situated on the slopes of the Pok Fu Lam area, the campus is a striking blend of colonial-era architecture and modern buildings, creating a unique atmosphere that draws students and visitors alike. But beyond its academic reputation and scenic views, HKU has become famous for something more mysterious. A rich collection of ghost stories and paranormal encounters that have been passed down through generations of students and staff. One of the most famous haunted sites on campus is the old main building, a majestic red brick structure that dates back over a century. Its towering arches and wooden staircases evoke a bygone era, but its history also carries shadows. Students who have stayed late working or studying report sudden chills and cold drafts in rooms with no open windows. Footsteps echo eerily along the hallways when no one else is around, and the creaking of old floorboards can sometimes sound like whispers. Sightings of ghostly figures disappearing around corners or in stairwells are not uncommon. These spirits are often thought to be former students or professors who spent a great deal of their lives within those walls and never truly left. Among the most haunting tales is that of the Lady in White, who is said to appear near the campus's library and the old chapel. According to legend, she was a student in the early 20th century who tragically died during her time at HKU. Witnesses describe her as wearing a flowing white dress, her face pale and sorrowful, often seen gliding silently through corridors or sitting quietly on benches in the gardens. Those who encounter her speak of a heavy sadness in the air, accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature. Some say she appears during exam season, as if burdened by unfinished business or longing for peace. The university libraries, including the iconic Feng Ping Shan Library, have their own share of supernatural reports. Students pulling all-nighters often describe strange occurrences: books falling off shelves without cause, pages rustling when no one is near, and shadows flickering at the edge of vision. The stillness of the library, combined with the weight of centuries of knowledge, seems to amplify these eerie sensations. Some claim to have felt a gentle touch on their shoulder, or heard a faint whisper offering guidance or warnings. HKU's medical faculty buildings hold perhaps the darkest tales on campus. The old medical school and hospital buildings, some now abandoned or repurposed, have long been associated with paranormal activity. Staff and students working late report hearing unexplained footsteps echoing down empty corridors, the clinking of medical instruments, and faint cries or moans. Apparitions in old-fashioned medical uniforms have been spotted briefly, only to vanish when approached. These hauntings are often linked to the building's history of epidemics, patient suffering, and the many lives lost there, leading to restless spirits lingering in the shadows. Student dormitories also play host to many ghost stories. One particular residence hall has gained a reputation for unexplained noises: doors slamming, lights flickering, and voices whispering in the night. Students have reported objects moving mysteriously or feeling sudden cold spots while alone in their rooms. Some have even seen shadowy figures pacing the corridors or standing silently at the foot of their beds. While some attribute these experiences to imagination or stress, others firmly believe that the dormitory is home to more than just its living residents. The University Chapel, a Gothic-style sanctuary on campus, is another focal point for paranormal activity. Groundskeepers and staff closing up at night often speak of flickering candles lighting themselves or organ music playing softly without anyone present. Apparitions resembling former clergy or students praying silently have been reported, as well as sudden drops in temperature and the sensation of an unseen presence during quiet hours. The chapel's spiritual significance adds a profound layer to these haunting experiences, blurring the line between faith and the supernatural. Faculty and administrative staff have also shared their encounters. Professors working late into the night speak of hearing footsteps outside their offices, unexplained knocks on doors, and computers shutting down unexpectedly. One lecturer recalled seeing a shadowy figure standing by the window, vanishing the moment he turned to face it. Although often dismissed as tricks of the mind or electrical glitches, the consistency of such reports lends credibility to the notion that HKU's campus is alive with unseen presences. The origins of these hauntings are tied deeply to the university's layered history. HKU was established during a time of social upheaval and cultural shifts in Hong Kong. The land itself was once home to indigenous peoples, and the colonial era brought rapid change and development, often accompanied by hardship and tragedy. Wars, epidemics, and political struggles left their mark on the campus and its inhabitants. The combination of intense human emotion, suffering, and history creates an environment ripe for paranormal activity. Despite these chilling stories, the University of Hong Kong thrives as a center of academic excellence and cultural exchange. The ghost stories have become part of the campus identity, embraced with curiosity, respect, and sometimes humor. Paranormal clubs and groups frequently conduct investigations, blending modern technology with traditional spiritual practices to explore these mysteries. Ghost tours and storytelling sessions have become popular, particularly around Halloween, allowing students and visitors to connect with the university's hidden history. The supernatural tales add depth and character to the University of Hong Kong. They remind the campus community that, beneath the surface of scholarly pursuit, lies a rich and complex human story. The spirits of past generations, whether real or imagined, are woven into the fabric of the institution. For many, this connection to the past enriches their experience of HKU, fostering a sense of wonder and respect for the unknown. As night falls over the university, the historic buildings cast long shadows in the moonlight, and the air cools with a hint of mystery. It is in these quiet hours that the boundary between the living and the departed seems thinnest. For those who wander the University of Hong Kong after dark, the experience is one of reflection and awe. Invitation 2. Listen closely to the whispers of history and the unseen world that lingers in the night. The University of Manila, founded in 1913, stands as one of the oldest and most respected institutions in the Philippines. Situated in the bustling heart of the capital, the university has witnessed more than a century of change, political upheavals, wars, and the evolution of education in the country. Its iconic campus, with buildings that reflect early 20th century architecture alongside modern structures, holds countless stories of triumph and tragedy. Beyond its academic achievements and historical legacy, the University of Manila has earned a reputation for something far more chilling: a collection of ghost stories and paranormal events that have captured the imagination of students, faculty, and staff for generations. One of the most persistent legends revolves around the main building, which has stood since the early years of the university. Its tall windows, high ceilings, and wooden floors creak with age, and many students who walk its hallways late at night report strange occurrences. Echoing footsteps are often heard in empty corridors, as if someone unseen is pacing slowly behind them. Doors that were tightly shut swing open on their own, and lights flicker inexplicably, casting eerie shadows across the walls. The sense of being watched is common, with many feeling an invisible presence following them as they move through the dimly lit halls. Among the most famous ghostly figures on campus is the spirit of a young woman said to haunt the stairwells of the main building. She is often described as wearing an old-fashioned school uniform, her long hair covering part of her pale face. Students claim to have seen her standing motionless at the top of the stairs or gliding silently down, vanishing before reaching the last step. Some stories suggest she was a student during the early days of the university who died tragically, either from an accident on the stairs or under mysterious circumstances during World War II. Those who have encountered her speak of an overwhelming feeling of sorrow and an icy chill in the air. The university's auditorium is another hotspot for paranormal activity, used for assemblies, performances, and major events. The auditorium has a rich history, but also a reputation for being haunted. Stage crew members and performers have reported unsettling experiences. Sudden cold drafts sweeping across the empty stage, disembodied whispers coming from behind the curtains, and the sound of someone softly singing when no one is there. The most chilling accounts describe the sight of a figure sitting alone in the back row, during rehearsals, a dark silhouette that disappears when approached. Some believe this presence belongs to a former student who had dreams of becoming a performer, but met an untimely end. The library, with its towering shelves and quiet corners, adds to the university's eerie atmosphere. Students pulling all-nighters frequently report strange occurrences. Books falling from shelves without explanation. Soft footsteps echoing in the silence, and the sensation of someone breathing behind them. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures moving among the stacks, only to vanish when approached. The library's stillness seems to magnify these experiences, making it a place where the line between imagination and the supernatural feels particularly thin. Stories of hauntings also extend to the university's old classrooms. During late evening classes or review sessions, students and instructors have reported hearing faint laughter or whispers when no one else is around. In some rooms, chairs have been known to move on their own, and blackboards once wiped clean mysteriously fill with chalk marks. One classroom in particular has a chilling reputation. Decades ago, it is said that a student suffered a fatal accident there, and ever since, strange things have happened within its walls. Those who enter the room after dark often speak of an oppressive atmosphere, sudden cold spots, and a sense of being unwelcome. The university's involvement during World War II adds a darker layer to its haunted history. Manila was devastated during the war, and many schools, including the University of Manila, became shelters, hospitals, or makeshift headquarters. It is believed that the campus witnessed immense suffering and loss during this time, with some buildings possibly used to treat the wounded or house refugees. This tragic past is often cited as the reason behind the restless spirits said to roam the campus. Echoes of that era seem to linger, their presence felt in unexplained noises, fleeting apparitions, and the heavy, mournful atmosphere in certain parts of the university. Even the university grounds are not exempt from ghostly tales. Security guards on night patrols have reported strange sightings. Figures dressed in outdated clothing walking across the campus lawns, only to vanish without a trace. Some guards claim to have heard the faint sound of marching boots, perhaps an echo of wartime soldiers coming from deserted areas after midnight. Others have experienced radios malfunctioning, dogs barking at empty spaces, and sudden gusts of cold wind that defy the warm tropical night. Faculty and staff members have their own share of unsettling experiences. Professors staying late to prepare lectures have reported hearing doors creak open, followed by the sound of footsteps entering the room, only to find no one there. In some offices, papers have been found scattered across the floor in the morning, despite being neatly arranged the night before. Maintenance workers speak of tools moving on their own and lights switching on and off without human intervention. Though often shared in hushed tones, these stories persist, adding to the sense that the campus is home to more than just the living. Despite these chilling tales, the University of Manila continues to thrive as an academic institution, producing generations of scholars and leaders. The ghost stories have become a part of its cultural identity, passed down from one batch of students to the next. They serve as a reminder of the university's long and storied past, a past that has seen joy, achievement, and tragedy in equal measure. As night falls over the campus and the bustling energy of the day gives way to silence, the atmosphere shifts. The old buildings, bathed in shadows, seem to hold secrets in their walls. For those who remain, after dark, students finishing projects, guards on patrol, or staff closing up the experience, can feel otherworldly. In these quiet hours, the University of Manila becomes more than a place of learning. It transforms into a realm where history and mystery coexist, where the echoes of the past linger in the halls, and where the presence of those long gone can still be felt by those willing to listen. Queen's University, located in Kingston, Ontario, is one of Canada's oldest and most prestigious institutions. Founded in 1841, it has a reputation for academic excellence and a campus filled with striking Gothic-style architecture. Generations of students have walked its halls, creating a vibrant culture of scholarship and tradition. But beneath the surface of academic achievement and campus pride lies another, more mysterious history of hauntings, and paranormal experiences that have given Queen S University an enduring reputation as one of the most haunted universities in the country. The university's oldest buildings, with their stone walls and ivy-covered facades, are steeped in history and, according to countless reports, home to restless spirits. One of the most notorious haunted locations on campus is Fleming Hall, specifically its gymnasium theater. Built in the early 20th century, Fleming Hall has long been associated with strange occurrences. Students and staff have reported hearing footsteps echoing in empty corridors, doors opening and closing on their own, and sudden drops in temperature without any logical explanation. The most chilling tales involve the apparition of a man in early 1900s attire who appears in the theater balcony, silently watching rehearsals before vanishing into thin air. Some believe this spirit is connected to a tragic accident that occurred during the building's early days, though the exact details remain shrouded in mystery. Another building that features prominently in Queens ghost lore is the John Deutsch University Center, commonly known as the JDUC. This hub of student activity was once the site of the old Queen S Hotel before it was acquired and repurposed by the university. Staff and students who spend time there after hours often describe an uneasy feeling, as if being watched. Security guards patrolling at night have reported hearing laughter and voices coming from empty rooms. There are even accounts of shadowy figures gliding across the hallways, disappearing as soon as they are approached. Some believe these are spirits of former hotel guests or workers whose lives ended tragically on the premises, long before the building became part of the campus. Douglas Library, an imposing stone structure that exudes academic gravitas, is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Students, studying late into the night, have reported books falling from shelves without cause, whispers drifting through the aisles, and cold gusts sweeping through closed rooms. One of the eeriest stories is of a ghostly figure seen on the upper floors, dressed in a dark cloak, moving silently between the stacks. Librarians have confirmed unexplained phenomena, such as lights flickering and security alarms triggering when no one is inside. Some speculate the haunting is linked to the building's long history and the emotional intensity that accumulates in a place where countless students have spent sleepless nights preparing for exams. Residences at Queens also have their share of unsettling tales. One of the oldest dormitories, Ban Rai Hall, is said to be home to more than just living students. Residents recount experiences of doors slamming shut on their own, mirrors fogging up with strange messages, and the sound of footsteps pacing hallways in the dead of night. A few students have even claimed to see the apparition of a woman in period clothing wandering the halls, disappearing through walls as if the structure of the building means nothing to her. This figure is often linked to stories of women who lived in the residence during its early years and met tragic fates. Even the grand and historic Grant Hall, the centerpiece of the campus and the site of countless ceremonies, is not without its ghostly stories. Staff working late or setting up for events have reported hearing the sound of music coming from the main hall when the building is empty, as well as the distant murmur of voices as if a crowd were gathered. Some witnesses claim to have seen figures dressed in old-fashioned academic gowns lingering near the stage. The theory among many is that these are spirits of former professors or students, eternally tied to a place that held great meaning for them in life. The tunnels beneath Queens campus add yet another layer to its haunted reputation. These underground passages, used for maintenance and utilities, are rarely visited by students. But workers who venture there tell stories of eerie sounds, flickering lights, and the sensation of being followed. Some claim to have seen dark shapes moving at the far end of a corridor, only to find nothing there upon investigation. The claustrophobic environment, combined with the weight of history pressing down from the buildings above, makes the tunnels a natural breeding ground for ghostly legends. The origins of these hauntings are closely tied to Queen's long history, which includes not only the everyday lives of students and faculty, but also moments of tragedy and upheaval. Fires, accidents, and untimely deaths have left their mark on the campus, creating what many believe are spiritual echoes that persist to this day. The emotional intensity of student life, filled with ambition, stress, and longing, may also contribute to an atmosphere where the line between the living and the dead feels unusually thin. Despite its ghostly reputation, Queen's University embraces its haunted heritage as part of its character. The stories are passed down from one generation of students to the next, fueling late-night conversations and campus folklore. Ghost tours are occasionally organized, especially around Halloween, giving students and visitors a chance to explore the eerie side of the university. Paranormal investigators have even conducted research on campus, capturing unexplained sounds and visual anomalies that add credence to the tales. For those who walk the grounds of Queen's University after dark, the experience is unforgettable. The towering stone buildings cast long shadows under the dim glow of street lamps, and the stillness of the night amplifies every creak and whisper. In these quiet hours, the university feels alive with unseen presences, as though the spirits of the past linger among the ivy-covered walls, silently observing the present. Queens is more than just a place of learning. It's a living museum of history, memory, and mystery, where every hallway might hold a story, and every shadow could conceal a ghost from long ago. The University of Alabama, located in Tuscaloosa, is one of the oldest and most storied universities in the southern United States. Founded in 1831, it has played a major role in the region's educational and cultural history. Its sprawling campus is home to grand columns, historic buildings, and tree-lined walkways that have witnessed nearly 2 centuries of triumphs, tragedies, and transformations. But beneath the traditions of football, academics, and Southern pride lies a darker, more mysterious side of the university, a legacy of hauntings and ghostly legends that linger in the shadows of its halls. One of the most famous haunted spots on campus is the Gorgas House, built in 1829, making it the oldest surviving structure at the university, originally serving as a dining hall and later a residence. It has stood through the Civil War and countless changes on campus. Today, it functions as a museum, but many believe it is also home to lingering spirits from its past. Visitors and staff have reported hearing unexplained footsteps echoing through the empty halls, the sound of doors opening and closing by themselves, and voices whispering when no one is near. Some have even claimed to see a woman in 19th-century clothing moving silently through the rooms. Believed to be Amelia Gorgas, the beloved librarian and hospital matron for whom the house is named. Her presence is described as gentle but unmistakable, a spectral caretaker still watching over the place she cherished. Another notorious location is the Round House, a small octagonal building constructed in 1860 as a guardhouse for the university. Its distinctive shape and deep historical roots make it one of the most intriguing structures on campus. Legend has it that the spirit of a Confederate soldier haunts the building, eternally standing guard. Security officers who patrolled the campus at night have reported seeing the shadowy figure of a man in a gray uniform near the Round House, only for him to vanish into thin air. Others have heard the rhythmic sound of marching boots on the pavement, even when the area is deserted. The Round House stands as a silent reminder of a turbulent past, and its ghostly sentinel ensures that history is never forgotten. The University of Alabama was not spared the devastation of the Civil War. In 1865, Union troops set fire to most of the campus, leaving only a few buildings standing. One of those buildings, the Little Round House, is often linked to ghost stories tied to this tragic chapter. Some say the spirits of soldiers who died defending the campus still roam the grounds, their footsteps echoing across the quad at night. Students walking alone after dark have reported hearing distant gunfire or the faint strains of military drums, as if the echoes of battle still linger on the wind. Another haunted landmark is Woods Hall, one of the oldest academic buildings still in use on campus. Completed in 1868, it originally housed classrooms, dormitories, and even dining facilities. Over the years, students and faculty have experienced unsettling events inside its walls. Strange noises, doors slamming, footsteps on empty staircases, and furniture scraping across floors are commonly reported. Some have even seen apparitions in old-fashioned clothing wandering the hallways before disappearing without a trace. The building's age and storied past seem to have left an imprint that refuses to fade. Clark Hall, a grand academic building near the Quad, has its own chilling lore. Students studying late have spoken of lights flickering on and off without explanation, cold spots appearing in otherwise warm rooms, and the feeling of being watched by an unseen presence. There are even stories of books sliding off shelves on their own, as if an invisible hand had brushed them aside. Some believe these disturbances are caused by the spirits of former professors who dedicated their lives to teaching and now linger, unwilling to leave the world of academia behind. The campus also has its share of haunted residences. One of the most talked about dormitory legends involves a spirit known simply as the Lonely Girl. Students living in older dorms have shared accounts of hearing soft crying in the hallways late at night, only to find no one there. Others claim to have woken up to see a young woman standing silently at the foot of their bed, dressed in a nightgown from another era, before vanishing into thin air. According to legend, she was a student who died tragically in her room decades ago, and now her restless soul seeks companionship in the afterlife. Even the university's beloved president's mansion, a stately white-columned home on the edge of the Quad, is rumored to be haunted. Built in 1841, it has housed generations of university presidents and their families. During the Civil War, it was one of the few buildings spared from destruction, and some believe its survival came at a spiritual cost. Guests and staff have reported hearing music playing from the empty parlor or catching glimpses of figures in period clothing moving past the windows at night. One story tells of a woman's voice singing softly, her song carrying through the house in the quiet hours before dawn. The university's deep ties to the Civil War, combined with the countless personal dramas that have unfolded on campus over nearly 2 centuries, provide fertile ground for ghostly legends. From soldiers to students, professors to caretakers, the spirits of the past seem reluctant to let go of a place so steeped in memory and tradition. Despite these stories, life at the University of Alabama goes on, and its ghostly reputation only adds to the school's allure. Paranormal enthusiasts often visit the campus, especially during Halloween season, hoping to catch a glimpse of its spectral residents. Students swap ghost stories late at night, daring one another to explore the old buildings after dark. These tales serve as a reminder that the university is not just a place of learning, but a living archive of history, where echoes of the past linger in shadows and whispers. As night falls over Tuscaloosa and the grand columns of the campus gleam under the moonlight, the air grows heavy with silence. In those quiet hours, when the bustling energy of the day gives way to stillness, the presence of the unseen feels strongest. For those who walk alone across the Quad or through the dimly lit corridors of ancient buildings, the experience can be haunting, an encounter with a history that refuses to stay buried, and with spirits that will forever call the University of Alabama home. Cambridge University, one of the most prestigious institutions in the world, is steeped in over 800 years of history. Founded in 1209, its ancient colleges, cobblestone courtyards, and majestic chapels have borne witness to centuries of scholarship, discovery, and tradition. But behind its grand facades and serene riverbanks lies a darker, more mysterious side, a legacy of ghostly legends and unexplained phenomena that have become an inseparable part of Cambridge's identity. The university is composed of 31 colleges, many of which date back to the medieval era. Their historic buildings, with towering spires and echoing halls, seem almost tailor-made for ghost stories. And indeed, Cambridge has no shortage of them. From spectral scholars to restless spirits of tragedy, the tales that linger here are as old as the stones that form its walls. One of the most chilling stories comes from Peterhouse, the oldest college in Cambridge. Founded in 1284, the ghost that haunts its ancient halls is known as the Grey Lady. According to legend, she was a maid who fell in love with a monk during the college's early years when clerical celibacy was strictly enforced. Their secret affair ended in tragedies. Some say she took her own life. Others claim she was murdered to keep their secret hidden. Today, her spirit is said to wander the college corridors, her gray figure gliding silently in the dead of night. Students and fellows have reported feeling a sudden chill, hearing faint sobs, or seeing a pale figure disappear into the shadows. The chapel, in particular, is said to be her favorite haunt, where some claim to have seen her kneeling in prayer, only to vanish when approached. Trinity College, home to some of history's greatest minds, like Isaac Newton and Lord Byron, also has its share of hauntings. The Great Court, where students race the clock to complete a lap before the clock strikes 12, becomes a very different place after dark. Guards and late-night wanderers have reported the sound of hurried footsteps echoing through the court when it is completely empty. A figure dressed in old-fashioned academic robes has been seen gliding silently beneath the stone arches. Some believe this is the ghost of a former scholar who died tragically during an academic dispute centuries ago, eternally circling the grounds in pursuit of unfinished business. Another story comes from Queen's College, famous for its iconic mathematical bridge. Here, whispers of a haunting surround one of the student rooms overlooking the River Cam. According to legend, a young woman drowned herself in the river after a broken romance. Her spirit is said to linger, and students who have occupied the room speak of hearing splashes in the water when the river is still, or feeling the bed shake violently at night. Some claim to have awoken to find a dripping wet figure standing silently at the foot of the bed before vanishing without a sound. King's College Chapel, one of the most breathtaking Gothic structures in Europe, is another site with spectral associations. By day, it is filled with music and sunlight streaming through its magnificent stained glass windows. By night, it becomes a place of eerie quiet and strange happenings. There are stories of a hooded figure that appears in the choir stalls, silently observing rehearsals. Organists practicing alone have reported hearing phantom footsteps approaching from behind, only to find the aisle completely empty. Some have even claimed to hear a choir singing softly in the distance when no one else is present. Whether these sounds are echoes of centuries of worship or something more supernatural remains a mystery. Clare College, with its graceful bridge and manicured gardens, harbors a more sinister tale. Students have spoken of a room where lights flicker inexplicably, objects move on their own, and sudden cold spots appear, even in the height of summer. According to college lore, the room once belonged to a student who dabbled in the occult and met an untimely end under strange circumstances. Ever since, the space has been plagued by disturbances, leading many to avoid it altogether. Even the libraries of Cambridge, repositories of centuries of knowledge, have not escaped ghostly legends. The Wren Library at Trinity College, which houses priceless manuscripts and rare books, is said to be visited by a scholarly apparition. Librarians working late have reported hearing the rustle of pages turning, the soft thud of a book closing, or the sound of footsteps pacing the aisles when no one else is present. Some even claim to have glimpsed a figure in an old academic gown studying by candlelight, only for the image to dissolve into thin air. Cambridge's long history means that its hauntings are often tied to real events, plagues, duels, forbidden romances, and the turbulence of past centuries. The Black Death, in particular, left an indelible mark on the city, and there are stories of mass graves beneath the grounds where some of the colleges now stand. Students and staff have spoken of ghostly apparitions in these areas, as well as the sound of moaning or crying carried on the night air. Despite these chilling tales, Cambridge remains a place of beauty and intellectual vigor. The ghosts, if they exist, seem to be woven into the fabric of the university, silent witnesses to the passage of time and the pursuit of knowledge. For many students, the stories add to the mystique of studying in such an ancient institution, where the weight of history is felt in every stone and shadow. As darkness falls over the city and the spires of Cambridge rise against the night sky, the atmosphere changes, the crowds thin, the streets grow silent, and the old colleges seem to hold their breath. Those who wander the cloisters after midnight speak of a peculiar stillness, as though the centuries themselves are pressing close. In that silence, it is easy to believe that the past is never truly gone, that the scholars, lovers, and lost souls who once walked these halls still linger, their presence felt in a whisper, a flicker of movement, a sudden chill in the air. Cambridge University is more than a seat of learning. It's a place where history and mystery walk hand in hand, and where the shadows of the past are never far away. And there you have it, 20 schools and universities where fear is the only subject that never ends. Which one sent chills down your spine? Was it the old hospital-stern campuses, where tortured souls still cry out? Or the ancient libraries, where unseen eyes watch you from the shadows? The truth is, the walls of these institutions have absorbed centuries of joy, heartbreak, and violence. Knowledge may live forever, but so do the spirits of those who can't let go. If you ever find yourself wandering through an empty campus at night, listen closely. Is that the sound of your footsteps echoing? Or someone else's? Does the faint whisper behind you belong to a classmate or a student from a century ago? Thank you for joining me on this chilling journey through the world's most haunted halls of learning. If you've ever had a paranormal experience in a school or university, share your story in the comments side. Love to hear it. And remember, the next time the bell rings and you're the last one in the classroom, don't stay too long. Because in some schools, not every student is alive. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and whatever you do, never stop looking over your shoulder.